Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wim Liu. This is the Raptors Reaction Podcast on Hello and Welcome, presented by Betway. Make sure you find Hello and Welcome wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow our social streams. Yada yada yada. Our producer Jerome is putting in countless hours of putting together some fire videos for you to watch. He is truly one of the most talented producers in this game. And yeah, you definitely don't want to miss out. So you can follow at Hello and Welcome Pod. Of course, we are going live after most games this season. And yeah, why not? Because you know what? The Raptors actually looking pretty solid these days. Raptors winning 116 to 112 against the Brooklyn Nets. And yes, you are truly a Raptors sicko if you watch this over Minnesota versus New York in game 4. If you haven't seen it already, Minnesota with a huge 82 to 80 victory, courtesy of Canada's very own Bridget Carleton, very alertly crashing the glass when the game was tied at 80 and forcing 2 free throws, which she knocked down to force a pivotal game 5. That will be on Sunday at 8 p.m., I believe. So make sure you head over to TSN and watch that on Sunday night. But listen, I did have both screens on for sure. And this Raptors game was actually quite good as well. A lot of good things to talk about in this one. So bringing in Samson Folk once again, we can officially say we're teammates after the news is out that TNN has officially acquired RR. If you don't know what those acronyms are, that means you're not a diehard Raptor fan. Samson, bro, how you doing, bro? You all right? You good?
I'm good. It was a one screener for me, so feel free to lean on me at any point in time. But I saw the tweets. I saw that everybody's mind was on a more important game, and I saw Bridget Carleton, the hero. It's not as exciting as like DJ Carton free throws at the end or Jemias Ramsey, but basketball is abound. This was kind of a game for you. You were talking about hustle, grit, Jamal Shead, the John McDonald player. Like, what was your takeaways? The big stuff.
My takeaway first off is John McDonald must have hit another home run or something, or at least slapped a couple of doubles. I gotta say, Jamal actually was doing a really good job offensively in this game. I thought the Raptors overall, after a really terrible start, let's say, like I think that Brooklyn came out, they knocked down a bunch of threes. I think they were up 10-2, something like that. Basically, they knocked down a bunch of threes. Cam Johnson could not miss, and listen, just make it less obvious that you want to reunite with Darko. Please, because I would love to see a Cam Johnson type heading those type of threes here in Toronto. But basically, after the first 2 minutes, I'd actually really like that Darko let them play through their slow start, allowed them to sort of pick up and find their way through the game. And yeah, basically, I thought the Raptors like thoroughly outplayed Brooklyn. I mean, the game got close towards the end, which was really funny because Brooklyn kept their starters in against Toronto's third stringers. And they weren't making a dent. Like Dennis Schroeder had a disaster class tonight. Actually, most net starters did pretty poorly outside of Cam Johnson. And then it was actually Brooklyn's third unit that came in to sort of cut the gap and make it exciting towards the end. But yeah, I don't know. For you, Samson, like you got to love a lot of encouraging signs that you've seen from these guys. Let's start with Emmanuel quickly, though. Of course, this is his preseason debut. What did you make of Quick in his first preseason action?
Pretty underwhelming, but that's okay. He did get to 10 assists, but there was when we did the Raptor show together, I made the assist farm claims, if you remember, and Davion Mitchell also had a 10 assist game. So I don't think those numbers belay anything very important. He looked a little bit rusty, especially in the middle of the court. Hit that big 3. That was nice to see. But I think he's mostly just out there to get used to the speed of the game, which isn't ideal for the last, I guess, game of the preseason because the Raptors are going to be up against it to start the season. The schedule is pretty tough. But, when you look at how he played, the expected stuff from him, you didn't get that much of it tonight, but that's more or less fine. Because at some point you have to make a decision in your head if you're going to be upset about things in the preseason or you're going to get really excited. And I can't be bothered to be like super upset quickly. But it was underwhelming, but that's fine.
Yeah, I like first off that you're defining these type of people because that's exactly who's in and watching this on a Friday night, and that's why we love all of you for tuning in.
That's right.
And I also appreciate that, like, yeah, I mean, this is why you get quickly in one game before the regular season starts. So you don't just jump in the pool straight away because I do feel like, yeah, to your point, like, this is not how you would typically see how quickly would play in the balance of a regular game when everyone's sort of healthy. I mean, amongst the starters, he had only 7 field goal attempts. That is, I mean, everyone else actually was quite balanced. Scottie with 12, Jakob with 11, Ochai with 11, Gradey with 14. But at the same time, like, you know, it kind of reminded me a little bit of when Scottie, I guess, made his debut like about a week ago against Washington, where it was like he would have like 2 good moments here to start the game and then kind of get tired and then have another burst in the second half and then get tired. It's kind of pretty standard, but I didn't mind it. I thought the playmaking in the third quarter was really good. I mean, that was a big part of the Raptors, 11-0 run to sort of break this game open. It was kind of close for most of the first half, but I thought the starters, I mean, especially in that third quarter when they got the lead, those guys played really well together. And Scottie, I thought, was a huge part of that. What'd you see of Scottie today?
Yeah, just a quick thing too, like the pump fake and the hook pass to Fernando as he relocated for the dunk. Like that was really nice from Quickly. That's that's one of those like Lowry passes.
Sure.
You know, the defense is moving one way in an expectant, like, okay, it's side top side, but you penetrate. We saw him get it to like Ibaka and Valanciunas so many times, and a little bit of, let's say, Lowry from Quickly there. Scottie was awesome. I was watching the Brooklyn Nets broadcast, which had a million gems. They were talking about Gradey like he was Kobe Bryant. One, because they were like, he shoots every time he touches the ball. Who does this guy think he is? And they also talked about him as if he were a good defender. They called him stalwart. They called him a guy who guards multiple positions. It was crazy. But they also said there's some good players out here, and Scottie Barnes looks a little bit different. He looked like he was in command of the game. I know he only has 3 assists, but he created so many looks for everybody. Every time he touched the ball, he pushed pace often. He took the shots he was supposed to. My God, he did. They ran that, you know, the 77, the double drag where you make the shallow cut, and Brooklyn completely messed up the coverage. They didn't even guard IQ, but that didn't matter to Scottie because the guy's on him. You just get off me. Steps in the lane. It looked like Giannis or LeBron. There's 3 or 4 guys in the league. Pick whoever you want who can kind of jump into that upper echelon. But my God, he dunked it. That type of stuff is very special. And it also informs why he's such a good driver, because he's so strong. And he's been so strong since he came into the league. The 15 points in his, you know, when he played his first game in the NBA, it's just being bigger and stronger than guys. His first playoff bucket ever is a post up from the corner where he got to the middle of the court and dunked over Joel Embiid. Was like, are you going to meet me there? Sometimes being the biggest, baddest dude is not that bad. And he's got a big old basketball brain in there too. He looked awesome, man. Very fun.
Dude, he looked like fucking Godzilla on some of those drives. Like, it's literally just those little tiny Nets villagers. And of course, like, this is a game for the Brooklyn Nets where, like, I don't even think they had 1 block in the game, at least like when the game wasn't just third stringers. And, you know, like, obviously not having shot blocking certainly helps in that front, but yeah, it's the way guys were just bouncing off of Scottie. And like, I've seen it a couple times now where it's like, it's just in this preseason alone where he's decided to take it to another gear physically. We've seen him dominate in moments against Boston as well. I mean, there was that little chicken wing that he gave Jaylen Brown, and then he knocked down a little short jumper. I said that was like basically Kawhi-esque. Like, Kawhi would have made that shot like all the time.
This is my request for Jerome is, you know, when you get the star in Mario Kart and you just and people just bounce off of you, I feel like you like that's how Scottie feels sometimes, man.
Yeah. He had like exactly. That's how I felt. Like, and you know, I thought in all those moments when the Raptors were really doing positive things offensively, I thought Scottie did a great job. It was also kind of interesting to me, like the usage that they had him in, because Poeltl was among the first guys to come off the floor for the starting unit, but then he also got reinserted with the second unit. To be honest, there wasn't a big drop off between the 2 units, and I actually really liked that. You know, I think Scottie obviously being a big part of that. He was a big driver of the offense. I thought Jakob did a really good job today as well. I mean, he's just been awesome throughout. And then just enough offense from 2 point guard lineups. And I know that Darko was asked about this, you know, in terms of, can you play more 2 point guard groups together? Jamal's obviously had such a great preseason, and Davion's played really well too, and quickly. So can you play 2 point guards and sort of put all these 3 in the rotation? And at least the answer today is yes. Do you like the idea of the Raptors putting these 2 point guards together alongside of like a really, really pivotal player like Scottie, who seems like he could just play with whoever the Raptors put together right now?
I wonder, it's kind of like do you remember in the 2021-22 season when they used to run the no point guard lineups with Scottie, Pascal,
Yep.
Boucher, and maybe Gary would be in there, but they would, I think the
Yeah.
stats were they rebounded like 40% of their own misses. They pushed every time.
Mhm.
They didn't allow anybody to get to the rim. There might be potential for something funky like that, but I still think in the regular season, you might be
Yeah.
pushing it if you try and squeeze both of them on. Although I do love how Jamal fits in as like that
Yeah.
second guard, and he and Mitchell will be competing with each other. But Mitchell, it seems pretty intuitive that he's going to be able to play with the starters, whether he's playing as a shooting guard or the point guard. And the starters are going to score the basketball, so they'll be
Mhm.
able to kind of uplift his offensive woes, let's say. They can get away with some stuff, is what it looks like. And that's great news if you want the Raptors to be a team that clears like 35 wins in the season, because their starters will win minutes.
Yeah.
And if their starters win minutes, which they will, and they can survive a lot of these bench lineups, I mean, you're winning games. They have good players, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing to me. Exactly, it's just like I feel like guys have certainly improved over the summer. Like Ochai
Mhm.
Agbaji, we'll talk about him in a little bit because I
Yes.
feel like he
Yeah.
deserves like just his own time. I know he's not like knocking down a whole bunch of threes, but he's doing so many good things out there. But he certainly looks improved from last season. He looks way more comfortable in this offense,
Mhm.
in that he actually has a place. Gradey, I mean, this is like 3 games in a row where he's led the team in shot attempts, and he wasn't like red hot from three, but I thought he did a lot of good things in terms of taking the right shots, in terms of sort of finding opportunities. So he looks like, I guess, continued the improvement from what he did last season midway through. But guys like Shead, like I think it's going to be hard not to put him. Like, if you're playing with a 2 point guard lineup, one of your concerns is, okay, is one of them going to get bullied on offense or on defense,
Mhm.
just by sheer size? And whatever, it's Brooklyn, so like I'm not totally expecting anybody to bully anybody, quite frankly. But I thought Jamal's a bully on defense. Like, I have yet to see even like 2 or 3 mistakes out of Jamal that are like clearly like on him, and that's crazy. He's played a ton of minutes as a rookie, and every game I just clear out a separate tab that's just like Jamal Shed winning plays. And it's shit like he takes a charge on Ben Simmons. He takes back-to-back possessions at the end of the first quarter where he eats moving
Mhm.
screens. And some of that is like he knows just like when to sort of charge and barge into a screen to even create that sort of like extra bit of bump. That's like that, like I wouldn't even say cheating the game. It's just reading high IQ the game. That's like
Mhm.
that Kyle used to do.
Yep.
And it's like you just see so many of those plays. And then what you pointed out on Twitter is just like his cutting has been really good for a guy who's like 6'1". He cuts and gets to the
Yeah.
basket a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like for me, I think the way I would start the season, I would certainly use all 3 point guards. And honestly, I feel like Jamal's even outplayed Davion for me.
I
But
think
yeah.
so too. There was something I was looking at. I wanted to see how many of Jamal's points had been scored in the half court. And he still hasn't hit a half court three. He's missed all of his half court threes, which I don't think means anything. They've all come in transition. And
Okay.
so,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
is, I don't think, like, you can make threes in transition, but he's scoring at the rim in the half court with that cutting. Like,
Right.
nobody had it on their bingo is that Jamal Shead's going to get a 45 cut and 2 feet, two hands, tuck
Yeah.
it away. Like, what
I
the
was gonna
hell is
say,
going on, man?
we've had so many short point guards in the last couple of
Yeah.
years, right? Kyle, Fred, Dennis, Malachi. We had literally the shortest guy in the league in Marquise Noel last year. When was the last time we actually saw a guy dunk with 2 hands? And it wasn't even like he like was in with a much momentum. He like easily
Yeah.
dunked with 2 hands without much momentum. Man,
He
Jamal's like
looked
sneaky
like
athletic, man.
Godzilla.
Okay, we got mini Godzilla. Yeah, sure.
But to your point though, is like it's not even just the scoring either. I think he has a great sense for how to play make. And as you said, not cheating on defense and still making plays. It didn't end up in a turnover, but when he's, he used the baseline as a second defender, he's
Mhm.
sliding with a guy. He reads the guy is going to make that pass out and he jumps it and blocks it straight out of bounds.
Oh, the
He's
Dennis Schroeder play.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
reading the body language of defenders. I don't know, like when we talked to him at, training camp, he talked about how much film he does, and clearly that's important to him. But
Mhm.
there's clearly something those next level defenders have. about recognizing what other players are about to do and just having a
Yeah.
knack for it. And he clearly has it. He doesn't like Gradey. I tweeted out that he was playing well defensively, and then he got back cut twice. And I was like, okay, nobody look, close your eyes. For Gradey to make good plays,
Yeah.
sometimes he has to cheat it.
Yeah.
Jamal doesn't have to cheat it, man. He just
Nah.
makes it happen.
Yeah, to one example what you're saying there in terms of like him really studying the opposition. And of course, like, yo, it's your 5th professional game. You better be doing like all the studying you can. But there was a play where he ended up on Cam Thomas, and that wasn't his primary assignment for the night. He was mostly guarding the point. But Cam, I think, had him along the baseline, and he came to a stop. And if you know Cam Thomas, like, you know he's gonna shoot pretty much any shot, contested or not. And I think he hit Jamal with like 3 straight up fakes, and Jamal just stayed down the whole time. And it's just like, even knowing little tendencies like that. And eventually, after those up fakes, even Cam was like, you know what, I might not shoot this. Like, you know what, like, someone else should probably shoot this ball, not me. Yeah. But small things like that, he's just doing all the time. And like, to me, like the 2-point guard thing, I think, especially with RJ out for the first little bit, what I really like about 2-point guard lineups is always just like, there's always a little bit of like downward momentum going towards the basket, where you can touch the paint. And I think Jamal's done a great job of consistently touching the paint and then just making a good decision. Sometimes he goes to a little like weird little jump stop and then a little push shot off the glass. He said that a couple times. Most times he's just kicking it out. And I think it just like perpetuates how good the Raptors, or how much momentum they can maintain on an offensive possession. So I'm all for the 2-point guard thing right now.
Yeah, and there's, especially, it's 2-point guard stuff is either when you've paid somebody too much and you have to make it work, or if you're kind of, you have a unique opportunity to give guys a shot at it. And, who knows exactly how well it goes over the course of the season, especially with the tough early schedule. But what else are you going to do, right? Jamal Shead has outperformed, I think, by any metric, what people would have expected for him, probably what the Raptors expected for him.
Yeah.
And Davion Mitchell, I think, has been good enough to justify NBA minutes. DJ Carton hasn't broken in, but you only needed 2 guys to do it, right? And, I mean, you're going to get a look at it. Gradey's going to play a ton. Obviously, Ochai is going to play a ton, both at the 2, but there's still going to be minutes there because those guys also have to play at the 3.
Okay, Ochai. Let's finally give Ochai like a couple of minutes to talk about what he's doing well. So I think the context here, especially for a lot of people who, like, let's be honest, people dropped out last season, man. Yeah. People were like, you know what? I think like there's other ways to spend a cold February night than to tune into Raptors basketball. And so a lot of people didn't see Ochai. And if you did tap in to see Ochai, it wasn't like he just looked uncomfortable outside of like him and Kelly having chemistry. Obviously they came over together from Utah in the trade. He wasn't very productive, and there were moments where it was like he would start and he would still very rarely get into the offense. And then I think what really compounded this is him going to Summer League, which is already kind of rare for a third-year player. But then he goes to Summer League with the stated intent of, hey, I'm reinventing my offense. And then there were still like very, very quiet single-digit scoring games. And so like the expectations for Ochai, especially offensively, was like quite low. And then you see clips. You see S showing a clip of Darko and him working on hand placements of shooting threes. And you're like, dog, you should be past this at this point. But then you actually see the games. And like all 6 times I've seen him play, which includes the open practice, Ochai has found ways to contribute, not only as like an occasional screener, but he's using this Euro step a lot in transition now. Super, super effective at that. Drawing fouls, which is always a great sign, especially for a guy with no bag, let's be honest. Outside the Euro step is new. He is cutting to the basket. He's finding great opportunities. And then whatever, man. If he can make the 3, fine, right? Darko's already talked about it. It's not about how much he makes the 3 because he brings so many other positive attributes. You can't put all your eggs in the basket with the 3. Ochai for me is like clearly not just improved, but looks way more comfortable in this system.
This is what I said last time too, is the cutting and the willingness, because that was what he got injured on. He had that horrible fall last year, if you remember.
Yes.
And it was because he went up for that lob. He's always been willing, like he's done the work, and he did the work last year. And as you said on the one part, like seems like a good man, a good dude. He puts in the work. He's really well liked.
Yeah.
He just couldn't make layups and couldn't make threes. And In this game, 16 points, 6 boards, 2 assists, 1 steal. 16 points once again. That is, again, the most points he's ever scored as a Raptor. Same as last game. He just wasn't hitting. He wasn't making his shots at the rim. I think, and he was 1 of 6 from 3 in this game. He made every single 2-point shot he attempted. It's that clinical fashion of being direct in how you're going to attack. Instead of stopping short for more of these pop shots, he's like, you know what? I'm pretty athletic. I'm going to try and get it off the glass. Let me see if I can take it there. You know, maybe the timing on cuts is a little bit stronger now so that he's hitting a larger window as the cutter so he can finish before help side comes over. It could be a lot of things happening that maybe over the course of the season we'll be able to say, okay, something very different happened. And maybe if he's kind enough, we'll comment so that he directs us to look towards something. Who knows? But I mean, just full stop, he's way better. And as you said, from the open practice till now, it's a hit every single game. I don't think there's been one letdown game, especially for what your expectations of him have been.
Well, I mean, especially because he's never taken a bad shot. Like, I think I've actually seen every shot. I've definitely watched every Raptor game that he's played. And it's like, he never takes a bad shot. Now, of course, like, there's a thin line between he never takes a bad shot and he has no bag. But like, you know, I think he's on the better side of that line right now for sure. And that's been encouraging. Like, it's even like a question of like, I've enjoyed seeing him in the starting lineup, mostly because he doesn't ever need the ball. He is putting a lot of effort in defensively. He's been fairly effective defensively as well. I think the only times he looked a little overwhelmed was, I think Jaylen Brown got him with physicality a couple times.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's Jaylen Brown, man. Like, he's going to
And
overwhelm a lot of guys. He's hyper aggressive. So I don't know. There's even a case for Ochai to start for me. I've said this like a week ago, and I feel more vindicated now.
Grady's been super fun in the preseason and encouraging. And if Gradey wasn't doing this, I think it would be a very clear line that Ochai is the starter. And also to swing this back around to the best player on the Raptors and a guy who hopes to, you know, turn things around, get this team to a place, be an all-NBA player. Ochai being this good and the relative professionalism that the Raptors have, I think some of that, and not to deflect it from Ochai, but Scottie makes things quite easy for guys. And that is something we see with superstars. And I really want to see that continue to leap to that point. But he's been making it very easy on guys, not just to fit, but then to thrive. And we've seen that with very, very strong players in the past. And that's also an exciting aspect of this kind of stuff, I think.
Yeah. No, I think to Scottie's credit, like, in a game like this, he scored 21 points. First of all, I love the catch and shoot threes. I think that was a big part of the third quarter where the Raptors had to push away. Raptors were playing really good basketball in the first half too. They were just like bricks from three. I think like Boucher had one, but like everyone else was just really, really quiet. IQ had one to start. But in the third quarter, guys were really, you know, actually starting to knock those down. I think Scottie's, this is like the perfect amount of threes I want to see from him. 3 of 6, you know, like 1 or 2 pull-ups, but a lot of like, you know, catch and shoot, but also making the right reads of like, okay, there's one, for example, he was open in the corner, but he was like, nah, I can also just drive to the rim and dunk it and then stick my tongue out and look at my you know, my own teammates on the bench and kind of fire them up with that. But yeah, no, to your point, he is making it really easy. I think when your star player sets the precedent of like, I'm going to pass to you. Like, there's not a guy that Scottie doesn't really pass to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he's showing you that trust with some of these passes. Like, there's even one pass that he like, I think Gradey made a back cut and he didn't even have really much of a step on his guy. And Scottie just fucking whipped that thing. He was like, no, you, I trust you, Gradey. You got this. I'm going to throw this like super high pass to you. Gradey somehow, like, first off, Gradey got
saved
pretty
it.
hands.
Yeah.
Saved it, I think, to Jakob. And then Jakob was like, the Nets have no center. I'm going to crush you. And here's a layup. But like, yeah, I think that aspect, him pushing the pace as well, him picking up defensively. Like, I thought Scottie was so locked in tonight the whole entire time. And again, this is a game where he only took 12 shots, but he was like easily by far the best player in this game. It also makes me so sad on the flip side that like watching Ben Simmons, because like Ben used to have games like this, not with the 3-point shooting, obviously, but like a lot of these similar attributes. And watching Ben now makes me so sad. That man never looks at the rim. And I mean, yeah, I think Scottie did really good defensively against Ben too, but god damn, man, like I can't believe it. It's like, yeah, it just makes me sad watching Ben Simmons, but it also makes me super happy watching Scottie. So
he's a really good, like, the honest truth is that sports psychology is a real thing.
Yeah.
Like and that, you know, losing that edge for yourself is going to affect everything down the line. It is everywhere. And at the speed of the game, especially for a guy like Ben, who so much of how he succeeded was playing at speed and making reads at speed and using his physicality, to take such a long time off, to have to readjust to speed, to not really trust anything you're doing for such an intuitive player like Scottie is. I mean, that's tough. That's the reason Scottie can make plays to everybody and doesn't pick and choose. Like, Scottie isn't reliant on the play type. He's going to have the screen set. He's going to come around it, and whatever breaks and whatever opportunity is, that's the guy who gets the ball. And Ben needs to be like that. But Ben is kind of, he goes through the motions. And when you don't have a jumper to settle into, then game speed will ruin everything you do. And that's tough, man.
No,
anyway, Scottie's fun.
Oh, man, Scottie is like, I would say like almost living out the potential that Ben should have had. Obviously, with the addition of the three as well, or just in general, like the more willingness to shoot outside of what Ben, traditionally did.
Scottie tries everything. That's the difference, right? Like,
yeah,
Scottie,
he's unafraid. He's not
bang, like, bitch. The first summer league game.
Oh yeah,
right. He there's a braggadocio around this guy that he will give himself to the game no matter what. Like, he will give himself to that, and he will try anything. Like, nothing intimidates him. He will risk it all.
Like, you will never see. Oh, I mean, the probably the most defining Ben Simmons play when we look back on his career is the one where he passed it to Matisse Thybulle with Trae Young under the basket. Like, Scottie's killing Trae Young in that scenario. But anyway, I don't even want to make this comparison. My whole point is I'm just sad watching Ben Simmons. But no, I mean, Scottie looks great. I think he looks really sharp. I think he's really fitting into everything that they're doing. I think for both lineups, it's going to be interesting because I think for the second unit, eventually Kelly, when he's back. By the way, Kelly has just quietly missed 4 straight games now, and I don't even see him on the bench in this game. I mean, it's not like that anybody was in Brooklyn.
I wasn't peeping the bench, to be honest with you. He could have been there. I wouldn't know.
Okay. There's a lot of crouch. There's a lot of bench shots of them celebrating. A lot of Jakob Poeltl putting in 3 fingers in the air. The most enthusiastic we've ever seen Jakob. But yeah, like, I mean, when Kelly comes back, I think that would help Scottie in a way too. But at the same time, like, I don't know. Like, I think it's taking these burdens away from him. Like, in the previous years, Scottie having to play center, that having to, I think, sagging some of his energy away. I think that even having just like him in his regular position has really helped on that front too. But on the point of center, I think obviously Jakob has played really great for the starting lineup. We saw a lot of Bruno Fernando, and if I had to guess, this is obviously the Raptors' last preseason game. It does seem like he's probably going to be the one who ends up getting that 15 spot because of how early he came into this game and how much he played. Having said that, though, once again, I have to say the man does not spark joy. Even though he had some decent moments in this game, he just doesn't spark joy. But it does seem like he has the inside edge here.
His block where he pinned the guy off the glass, it doesn't have as much juice when it's like Happy Gilmore is like Gradey Dick accomplished that feat no more than 30 minutes ago. It takes a little bit of the air out of it. There was some like classic, got the seal, received the ball, finished on the inside, big man stuff.
Yeah,
they have money invested in him, but I think it's down to him and Jamias Ramsey probably, and some of that is performance and some of that is the financials of how that shakes out, and the security with some of the other players. Battle hits threes, and he really does.
And he seems to have good basketball IQ. Like, I gotta say, like, when the third unit comes in, I'm just like, guys, what are you doing? Like I mean, Ulrich is like the classic example of this. Because there's some really cool moments with maybe we talk about Ulrich too, but like at least Battle seems to be like he actually seems smarter, or not smarter, but like that's rude, but like reading the game at a higher level than those other guys.
Well, okay, so let's take we haven't really talked about Gradey too much, and I don't know what you said about him last game, but when we watched a bit of a stinker together, and then so I'm curious, like 18 points on 19 possession. His defense against Boston, if you recall, was just like atrocious. Yeah. So how do you feel about, I guess, Gradey after this game, after the preseason? Let's check in.
So after the preseason, well, first off, in this game, a lot of moments of hashtag sneaky athleticism from Gradey. Not even so sneaky, man. Like when you're talking about a two-handed putback dunk, which he got in from the perimeter, I think immediately Jordy Fernandez called the timeout. He's like, we can't have this, man. I just coached Shea at the fucking Olympics, and you're letting Gradey come in for that. But then, like the block, as you mentioned, I think right after the two-handed dunk, there was a play where he tried to drive in with one hand, or maybe it was a putback dunk, or maybe he drove it in, but he tried to dunk it again. And I love that aggressiveness from Gradey this whole entire time.
Oh, he throws his body at the rim, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he'll
for
give
sure.
his life to it 100%.
No, I mean, just as you mentioned, like the way he sort of like will try to cheat a little bit defensively and sort of jump out of things. Like I think he's just like he's gonna go a little bit harder than I think the defense is usually anticipating from him. But I think in general, his movement right now, he's getting so many shots in the paint. And even though his three continues to sort of like sometimes be hot, and like we saw one quarter in Boston where he hit 4 threes the third quarter. I guess we saw like the first quarter against Boston in Toronto, he hit threes. Outside of that, his three hasn't been dropping, but he's still getting lots of opportunities to score, whether that's in transition, whether that's coming off of, just moments where he's finding opportunities to cut. And it's fun. It's fun seeing him like play so confident and so loose. Like, I think that for him, I wouldn't say, especially if you get to like talk to him in person, he's certainly not confident. He's got a lot of confidence. If you even look at his draft suit, for example, but like on the court last season, as you would see for so many rookies, he just didn't seem, he was like worried about making mistakes, or just like he just wasn't doing enough good things to feel confident.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's getting to the paint a lot more. I also think that like a lot of this is just like when you see him doing that, when you see Ochai doing that, I think that's just like a huge credit to Darko. Like he's gotten guys to like improve and get more comfortable within his system. And yeah, when you see it with multiple instances, I do feel like that's a system-wide benefit of sort of what Darko's been doing with his guys. Like the fact that they spent now a whole training camp with it. Obviously, Gradey spent 2 training camps with it. Like shit looks good, man. Like the 34 assists, like that's not just because Brooklyn is not good. Like the Raptors weren't even hot from 3, and they still had 34 assists. They got to the rim all the time on a team-wide level for this group.
Yeah, and also credit to Ivo Simovic, because Gradey always says that's his guy.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the games beforehand; they always watch film together. They're always working together on the court, and that's just the stuff that you can see early. I mean, there's always a million things going on behind the scenes too. Sure. But yeah, I like that you bring up the rim attempts for Gradey, and also something fun about his rim attempts is like a lot of guys, they try and finish with their hand near their head for like push shots and touch shots, and they try and keep it here. Gradey, the way he throws himself at the rim, he always goes full extension and just leaves it up to touch, to English. And that can be a dead leg, right-footed little left hand flip over. It could be the jelly over Jason Tatum. It can be tonight when he went up with 2 hands and had to throw it off the glass and in. And even the back cut against Jaylen Brown where he caught it and then went front rim to try and tap it over. He's just flipping it, rolling it over the rim. Everything is touch with this guy. So he just lets his body be, spindly diddly in the wind, and he just like tries to fillet it in. It's a really fun aspect of his game, and he beats every closeout. Guys, because
he is getting by closeout so well now.
He's very strong out of the triple threat. His like pump package, he always attacks the top foot. He can go right or left. He's comfortable. That's a great indicator, because those other aspects of his game will get stronger, the finishing, the timing, going downhill, all this kind of stuff. But he's already getting those big wins to get deeper into the paint. And for a guy like that, I mean, paint touches, he's probably sitting at one of the highest on the roster right now, which I don't know if people would have predicted for him. Yeah. And paint touches are gold, man. 2 feet in the paint, that's incredible. But yeah, assists are great. I love assists.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially with him too, it's just like when he gets in the paint now, you're also seeing that like he is 6'8", he is like relatively athletic. Like as you mentioned, he can shoot from different angles. He's got great dexterity, by the way, catching in midair. Even small things like him catching that like super fast pass from Scottie. Like honestly, put too much up on that pass, and it was a little bit low, but like still he was able to corral it, And I think
he caught a lob at the hash mark in air, caught it and banked it in, and it wasn't like a layup. He just threw it in from that wasn't this game, but like there's stuff happening there.
There's stuff happening there, and I think that like, man, I mean, again, like whenever he talks about Evo, when we're talking about Evo here, people are not gonna know who this man is. He is
Assistant coach.
He is in the second row. Okay, so sometimes if you watch timeouts really closely, he's in the second row. He's like probably like 5'5", 5'6", like a little relatively shorter Balkan man. And yeah, I mean, like if you go early enough to a game, you will see him working with Gradey out of these things. And man, I just remember last season, like I don't know if every team does this with their rookies, and I would probably guess the answer is no, because I've seen a fair bit of other teams warming up too when they come to Scotiabank. But like they were working on like the most minute details every single game on the court before the game. It was like how to sort of like chop your feet into a closeout, how to attack against a closeout on offense, and the smallest things with Grady, even like box out drills are working with him. Like I was like, yo, they're building this guy up from like the very very basics. And now we're even seeing it to like a bigger degree with like every time you go into practice now, Always Shamshe is just working out with like I think Drew, one of the bigger assistant coaches, and he's just working on like literally like 2-foot jump hooks. Like the Raptors actually, especially on the Dark Club, put in this time to build in these like tiny little Lego blocks in their game, and then it becomes super rewarding when you actually see Grady like start to put it together more fluidly. Like he gets by guys a lot now on closeouts, and he's always gonna be a guy that draws great closeouts, like or like hard closeouts. And yeah, I mean, he's looked good. I guess Yak is just Yak. Yak is we just like
He's top
awesome, bro.
quality,
I
man.
love Yak.
And I think like this is something I talked about a lot during the time when people were saying that Claxton was the better option than Jakob. And I was like, I do like Claxton, but
Sure, yeah.
Jakob, I think Jakob is the better player. And like
Yeah, for sure.
I feel that way. And I actually think because people wanted a lob threat for Scottie, which I understand, but Jakob really facilitates a lot of the types of possessions that will improve Scottie, that will improve IQ, that will improve Grady, that will improve RJ. Also, that's something we didn't touch on is like still the negative chemistry between Scottie and IQ. They just have nothing on their team actions.
Yeah.
But IQ is very reliant on Jakob, and Claxton wouldn't be able to be that linchpin in the offense the way that Jakob is. And defensively, I mean, he's good. He steps out on the court.
Yeah.
Great. Like not a great big man, but a quality big man, which is if you want to win games in the NBA, like you need that.
No, I mean, what I wish for the Raptors is to have a second Jakob, really, so that I don't have to watch Bruno. I'm sorry, Bruno, man, but it's just not been enjoyable. I don't know why once per game he's just passing it straight to the other side. I'm like, just like what are you doing? Like we wear different color jerseys, but I've him and Scottie together. There was a sequence in the third quarter. I thought the Raptors played their best basketball in the third quarter. Where I think it was Jalen Wilson, the first play, kind of got a step on Scottie. I think Scottie probably would have contested it really well. It would have been difficult for Jalen Wilson to finish. But he didn't finish because Jakob came over, rotated at the basket, blocked Jalen Wilson. And then like a couple minutes later, it was the same thing, except he got by Jakob, I think, on a switch. Also, actually, I guess Jakob guarded Jalen Wilson quite a bit in this one because Brooklyn started really small. But yeah, he got a step on Jakob, and then it was Scottie who rotated over at the rim. I just like those two together is going to hold down so many defensive lineups for the Raptors. And I do like the idea that like the Raptors do have like way better on-ball defense now. Even last season, I was like, you know what, Dennis, like picking up full court, like let's talk about it on the Raptors show every week.
Well, he was a bit fake, I think. It was a little bit of like that Pat Bev, he tricks y'all type thing. Like you go, you pick up full, and then you slide with them as they come to the court, and you're like, nice. Now somebody's gonna call me hustle culture,
Yeah, well, there was certainly a lot of that, especially when you have to interview them every week. But at the same time, like I think it's just it's also now you have this extra layer of pressure on the ball, and of course it's not always the point guard. Like like it's kind of a team wide approach. By the way, that's one thing with Quickly. Like I want him to get into an even higher level. Today, I'm not going to judge him too much because it's just like. It's literally your first preseason game, but I can't. I don't know, man. If Davion and Jamal especially are going to pick up that hard, I'm going to need you to do the same thing. Especially when you get paid like I don't know 5 times what those two guys may combine. Which like there's a responsibility that comes with that too. But I don't know. It's defensively they're playing well. Offensively they're playing well. Like I'm excited, man. I'm actually really excited to watch the Raptors after preseason, which is really great.
I get probably much higher on this team than I guess the league wide. I think the fan base has kind of accurately been seeing like maybe between 33 to 42 wins. That's a wide range to give.
That's a huge range, man.
Yeah. Okay, let's say 33 to 38. How's that? Do we feel
Sure.
better? 33 to 38.
It's a world's difference, bro.
Okay, so 33 to 38. And, there's good players here, and there's just no getting around it. And Scottie has the, what great players can do, especially when they're going from being great to very great, is they can just drag guys and teams to places that they just wouldn't be otherwise. And Scottie kind of sets the floor and the ceiling for this team for now and in the future. It's an interesting thing. That's what some of the best players do. And so if he's not one of the best players in the league, then they probably have to tinker a lot more.
Oh yeah.
If he is, then things become super easy, and then they become super difficult at the end because you talk about championship stuff. But yeah, it's a fun team.
But I mean, look, I totally agree with you. Obviously, like so much of this is going to be determined by Scottie. But it's weird because I wouldn't say he has more help than before because he had like really really talented players. Like none of his teammates are as talented as Pascal, for example, or none of his teammates are as good of a defender as OG. Right now, but at the same time, like with the team oriented around what's obviously around Scottie and his strengths and a style of play that's like really, really built around sort of the strengths that he has, like I could see guys like really stepping in and helping him, in terms of like long-term fits of who would fit and who are keepers and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, Scottie no longer having to chase point guards around, which he did sometimes in the past. Like now you have that. Now he doesn't have to play center because you have Jakob. And of course, like the Jakob trade, no one's going to be like, well, that was a great time trade by the Raptors who acquired him at a cheap cost. But but it's like buying a house right before the subprime mortgage thing. You're like, oh wow, damn, the hell am I doing, man? I'm paying this crazy mortgage. But I mean, at the same time, like I think other guys have settled in a little bit to sort of like make his role just feel a little bit more natural to him, and focus sort of more on what he needs to do. And then the other guys are solid. I mean, like we always say, like, there's enough shooting around him. Of course, like against most teams, like if you shoot what the Raptors shot in the first half, you're pretty much down like 10, 20 points easily. Against Boston, they were down 30 because they couldn't hit threes. But at the same time, like, that's just, I don't know what to say. Like I'm actually really impressed with so many players. Like it actually brings me joy to see guys come off the bench now. And I know there's like RJ is going to eventually join this mix. I know that even Bruce, like I know Bruce is like not seen as a long-term piece. He's not. But in terms of style of play, Bruce actually would fit exactly what the Raptors are doing to a T.
If Ochai is getting baskets in this offense,
yes,
Bruce is getting baskets in this offense. He's a great proxy.
Yeah. Ochai's basically playing like Bruce, actually. Like he's like we have two Bruces now. I guess whatever. We didn't even want one, but like, now we have two. Deal with it. But it's fun, man. It's fun. I'm having a great time talking about this, and we are gonna get to your questions. We're gonna get to our 3 stars, hand out some awards. But first, we want to bring you a message. Producer Jerome, I'm gonna tee you up right now. We're gonna bring you a message from our friends at Coors Light.
So, Alex, I know you wrote the whole book. Prehistoric in stores now on the Raptors' first ever season.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know that our friends, Coors Light, have actually been sponsoring the team's official beer partner since their inaugural season as they head into, obviously, the 30th anniversary here?
Yeah, I know all that because I've been following the Raptors and I've been following Coors Light since day one.
Oh.
So, while players, coaches, the team's changed a lot over the 3 decades, one thing that hasn't changed is the unwavering support of the Raptors fans. And that's why Coors Light has plans to celebrate that fandom this season. And being the insider that I am, I heard there's going to be a super fun collaboration that is going to start next Monday. So everyone should bookmark ERA in everycan.com. That's ERA in everycan.com so you don't miss a single thing. Remember, you must be 19 plus and celebrate responsibly.
Can't wait to see what this is.
Samson, after seeing that ad, what do you think it is?
Jesus, I couldn't tell you, but you guys look great promoting it.
Thank you. My laptop stickers are popping like crazy.
Yeah, man.
All 10 of the Pokemon that are on there.
I do like your laptop stickers, by the way. That was one of the first things I ever noticed when we met before we met. Well, actually, the first time we met was at a OVO Center, I think. But I was like, some good laptop stickers.
Mm.
I think
I
if
got
I
some
remember
obscure
correctly.
Pokemon on there, man. Like there's like I think there's like a Heracross on there. There's like a Metapod on there.
Heracross is very elite, like one
Dude.
of the best.
My all-time favorite Pokemon, Heracross, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Jerome, if you can find it before the end of the show, there's a picture of Heracross, the Pokemon, and Bulbasaur. Just search Heracross and Bulbasaur. And there's one
I seen
picture
that
where he's
one.
like, yeah, he's kind of like you'll see it, Jerome. You'll find it. Don't worry, buddy. Okay, let's take your questions first and foremost, Jerome. Actually, that's more important. Never mind. Forget Heracross. Let's take your questions. Let's go to the first one. As Jerome opens a second tab to search Pokemon on a Friday night. There we go. All right, here we go. Coca Zafreen once again has asked a question here. If Jamal Shead was the embodiment of the energy of a particular animal, which animal would he be? You know what? Let's just amend this to Pokemon, man, because clearly you and I are both huge Pokemon fans. What is Jamal Shead's profile as a Pokemon? And then maybe we can use that to relate to an animal, I suppose. But since we're here on a Friday,
okay, it's the maybe like I want a woodchuck Pokemon.
okay,
You know what I mean? Like I feel like he has like how much wood could a woodchuck chuck? A woodchuck could chuck wood type energy. Like
he does play like Woody Woodpecker. Like it's crazy how much he's just expending energy. Yeah.
Ooh, Watchog. I don't know like how he's got the eyes, very alert, very at attention. He will pick up some garbage, Watchog. He's like he's like a park ranger Pokemon.
That's like generation 5, I think. It's like basically, every Pokemon game has like a Rattata equivalent or like a Pidgey equivalent.
Yeah.
That's like the Rattata. Yeah.
Patrat is the first one.
Yeah. That's a good one. I like it. Yeah, he's very he's obviously defensively oriented, but like maybe with good physical attack. He seems like a very weak special attacker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually relate special attacker to like Bag, I suppose. Like he's not like wiggling. Like your Cam Thomas would be a huge special attacker.
Ice Punch is a pull-up 3, I feel. Like
Ice
that's
pull-up 3.
Yeah. Because Ice
gotta
Punch
explain
is
that one, man.
Because dragons are like the dominant, used to be the dominant faction, right? And the Ice Punch is like, well, I guess it became physical, and when there was a split.
Yeah, right.
But like any type of, or maybe whatever the most powerful ice move is that isn't physical is like pull-up 3. That's Bag,
right?
Or maybe
I don't know. Blizzard. Only 70% chance of hitting, so like a lower accuracy shot, but when it hits hard.
Earthquake is like post up dunk, drop step. It's like unstoppable.
We could do a whole episode on
this.
We definitely it's this basketball Pokemon synesthesia thing that we're doing right now. Like I think
actually
there might be a market for this.
Trey and I did this, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but he called Pikachu a professional loser.
I mean, it's not fair. He's Ash's primary Pokemon. Like
he was Dame in Portland,
Wow. Yeah. Damn.
Okay, anyway.
Yeah, you know what? Dame in Milwaukee right now definitely feels like a Raichu. Just like, dog, what are you doing there, man? Like what it's tough. We gotta pretend like Milwaukee's still a really, really good team. Unfortunately. Outside of Giannis, which it's not. Yeah, okay, Pokemon wise, yeah, I mean that's pretty good. Let's go with that. Let's go to the next question because we could really spend like a solid half hour.
Yeah.
Next question. Boojwin? Sorry, man. That's that. Please tell me.
Let me.
You go ahead. Stab at this one.
Budewin Kirkwick. That is my guess.
Okay, this is like a Dutch name, maybe. A lot of J's, like WIJN, IJK. Anyway, all right. Anyway, the question is it weird to compare this Raptors team to the Kings of a few years ago? Young, healthy, slowly built rather than full tank mode pop. I don't know. I guess Sacramento had a coaching change with Mike Brown. I think that was a huge driver of sort of like their change in identity. They also swapped out Tyrese for Domas Sabonis, which like you really can't find two more different players than those two. Fox was kind of pretty good throughout, but I think with a really good big to sort of play off of, that kind of clarified more of his game. And then Malik Monk kind of dropped into their laps, or I won't say that. Like they made a really good signing with getting Malik. I could see the stylistic change, maybe in terms of like the head coach change, and clearly the Raptors right now play totally differently. Like there's not a lot of like somebody takes 8 dribbles on a pick and roll.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably the extent of it for me. I think there's like too much roster change on Sacramento's case to like that informed the way that they changed their style of play, whereas the Raptors kind of tore down the studs closer to I guess most other rebuilding teams.
Yeah. And honestly, they went, I guess, backwards in a sense, or they went like the opposite of what the Kings did, because the Kings traded their young player for a more entrenched all-star, and the Raptors traded their entrenched all-star for young players. Not as young as Tyrese. Like RJ is paid, IQ is paid, and like the guys who can't, Bruce was paid, but it's a little bit backwards in that sense. But yeah, like play style or maybe the vibes of it all. We're back to these vibe comparisons after the disaster of last time. Yeah, why the hell not? Sure, they could be the Kings.
Yeah. It's not terrible though. I mean, there's a lot. The Sacramento's done a great job of rebuilding, and now they have DeMar, which is weird, but we'll see how they
like
go.
that. I like
You
that
do?
a lot. Yeah, I
What's
mean, you
the
signed
benefit of
DeMar.
you have so much of the same thing now. Not to say that they're like the same guys, because they're not, but
They weren't gonna win the championship,
yeah.
but now they just have DeMar DeRozan. Think about how cool that is, man.
No, DeMar's super cool, man.
Yeah.
DeMar, you saw DeMar's. Did you see DeMar's first preseason game with them? He was like 8 of 10, and they're all like mid-range pull-ups.
That's
and it was
so
like,
sick, man.
DeMar's such a gangster, bro. Like this guy literally just like walks in, he plays his game. Like he could play his game anywhere, which I don't feel like is true for a lot of players.
Yeah.
But
I tweeted about this maybe like a week ago. I'm the guy saying, "Look at my tweet." Oh God. Anyway,
no, it's all good.
So, but he's like the professional scorer trademark of his era, because he's not one of the greatest of his era. But if there's a guy who just for 15, 16 years scored the hell out of the basketball and kept scoring as he was 34, 35 years old, he's that guy. He's probably going to be a top 20 scorer by the time he retires.
There's a chance he might be top 10, man.
Yeah. So he and Kyle, if you had said in like 2017 that both these guys are going to have a pretty good shot at the Hall of Fame just based on the end of their careers, a lot of people would have been like, this is ridiculous. And here we are. He's a blast. They're not going to win the chip, but it's a blast,
I just like guys that do it their own way. And I think the issue with doing it your own way is you have to be so good and unapologetic about it that like you kind of have to like force the institution to accept you. I guess we'll talk about our getting acquired by TNN later. Actually, this would be a good pivot point. But DeMar, like I remember being on Raps Republic at like 2012 in that era, and I think he probably signed his like 4-year rookie scale extension, and he signed for like 4 years, $38 million. Yes. And I remember being like, the advanced stats say DeMar's bad. Yeah, no, but I was like, no, I don't know, man. Like, like this seems like a lot of money. His advanced stats were blah blah, and I was just like, the more I guess at that time, like I was like probably 20 years old, so I was like, like I like looking at this site and it says low key your player sucks. Like I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna ride with that. And I think like over time, just like watching his career progress and improve, and like obviously the game of basketball has changed so much in DeMar's career, but his game has changed, but mostly just matured. It's kind of beautiful to watch. And then you throw on top of the fact that like the way that he's been so open about his mental health struggles, and like that shit's inspirational, man. The fact that he wrote a whole book. I mean, big shouts to Dave Feschuk for helping, or not Dave Feschuk, Dave Zarum for helping with them. But like, yeah, like it's DeMar's a cool dude, man. And I don't miss him in Toronto in that way, because like I know we needed to get rid of him to get Kawhi, and like absolutely no, DeMar, we would have not won the chip with you in 2019. Like I love you, dog, but like no. But yeah, shouts to DeMar. Anyway, let's take some more questions.
Vitor. Liverpool.
Vitor Oliveira. Yo, this sounds like somebody that Liverpool should sign to play the 6. What EPL club would you compare the Raptors to at this point in time? I'm gonna give the optimistic comp, and I'm gonna say we're like Brighton. Okay, a lot of young guys, a lot of people I haven't heard of. Maybe a couple of guys that really stand out. I guess Scottie could be like Evan Ferguson or something, or like actually he's not similar to him at all, but like I don't know, like there's just something about them that like Brighton plays really competitive, they really get after it, and they have consistently shown an ability to sort of develop, like find young talent, develop young talent, and then eventually sell them at a higher rate. I mean, most stars end up leaving there. You look at, for example, Alexis McAllister plays for Liverpool. He played for Brighton. He came up through Brighton. But like, yeah, that's ideally what I would like the Raptors to be. And if not that, then maybe Brentford. But Brentford plays very differently. So I don't know. Yeah.
I love the structure of the Premier League. Obviously, the money at the very, very top end has introduced something new to it. But the fact that Leicester won, the fact that a team can go from like 17th to 11th, and they're like, hell yeah, what a season. The fact that there's so many things you can try and win throughout the year.
Yep.
I kind of detest rings culture. The EPL seems like it flies in the face of that. Like, it's just, you can win in so many ways. I find it so aspirational. And that's why I'm a huge fan of the NBA Cup, or whatever the hell they call it now. They have a sponsor, but whatever. Emirates
NBA Cup, baby.
Emirates NBA Cup.
Just like it's similar. Emirates FA Cup. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I love that. But I said Liverpool because my friend M. Gualberto and I have been making this point that under Klopp, and this was a better comparison when they were under Nurse, but Klopp was like, we're going to run 70 miles a game and nobody's going to come close. We're going to cover the field. We're going to do it this way. This is how we have to play. And they won, and then they got burnout. And that's what happened under Nurse too. Obviously, Klopp left on much better terms, and Klopp is much more well-liked by present and past players. But I always liked that, I guess, carryover. And that's what I asked because Tony asked about soccer, and then I got to ask about soccer, about the high press, I guess. But it's EPL rocks of soccer.
EPL rocks. I think the fact that people can celebrate not being relegated, the fact that there are small clubs that end up going to the top all the time, which is really cool. So like you'll have like clubs from small towns, like let's say like, I don't know, a CBL team somehow like made it to the NBA and they survived that year by not being one of the 3 worst teams. It's like, that'd be kind of crazy. So,
and they get profit share. They're like, this town's GDP is times 18 right now, just because like we hung in. Yeah.
Let's have Lakeshore West actually always drive to Hamilton instead of dropping off at Aldershot, which is genuinely like the most middle of nowhere places of all time. It's just a big parking lot, and then they're like, take this bus to go all the way to Hamilton, but it's like the train tracks go all the way there. Anyway, sorry, as a McMaster student, it was very annoying having to make this transfer all the time. Also the concept of pressing. I feel like pressing has become such a bigger topic. It's a huge topic in soccer. And it's always been a factor of the game. Like no one's not talked about pressing, like this as far as the game has started, but how much that became a focal point of the game. And then you're seeing, I guess the pressing is just ball pressure, I guess, in basketball.
Yep.
But yeah, I love it. And I think with soccer, it's cool because realistically, you can't really play like Jamal Shead in soccer. You just would.
What about Conte?
Okay, we can't be comparing him to N'Golo Kante already, man. What are we doing?
The spirit of it, you know.
This is not we are dropping viewers, but no, I mean, I think it's just like one man can't press the ball nearly as much just because the pitch is so wide and there's so many more players, and you can always back pass, which you can't do in basketball, obviously, because the court is cut in half once you cross. But like, yeah, I don't know. There's like so much more theorizing and I guess technique that comes in with ball pressure now that. It's cool. Like there's entire collegiate teams that just like go all out with ball pressure. Like even like what Houston did last year. You know what I mean? They're like, we have a fucking line of scrimmage. You can't come in. And Jamal's like, awesome. Elite. I'm gonna be the best person to do this with. So anyway, that's cool. Let's take some more questions. What else we got, man? Someone sent in $1. Shouts out Michael Herbert for sending us $1, bro. This is sick. This is sick. Okay.
Yeah, thank you
do we have any other questions? Needless Moose. Sick name. Can I just say it makes me so unbelievably happy to see Will and Samson together. Literally 2 of my favorite guys in this space. That's really nice. Thank you.
Yeah, incredibly kind. Thanks to Will and Jerome and Alex for having the podcast and hosting me as a guest. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's pivot to the RR acquisition, because this is what I tried to tease you into saying out loud, because we've known this has been in the works for like at least a month, I guess. Like there's kind of a process to how these things go.
It's been a while, man.
Yeah. But the news is broken that the Nation Network has acquired Raps Republic. Samson, I'm just gonna ask you a couple questions that maybe other people who are longtime RR listeners or fans or readers and stuff, because it's been a very thriving community, have sort of asked. So, number one, what does this actually change for you guys content wise?
The only big change is that my reaction podcast isn't there, and we're under the same banner as you, and I'm guesting here. And I think what made sense for them was to put everything towards one thing. This will be the supreme show of all. That's kind of the idea, and I get more time to do, like, I'm doing one of these a week roughly, or however it works out. But that's the change. Everything else, like they've said. Like, Lewis is the boss of my work and everybody else's work the same way he has been for years. The editor of Raptors Republic. There's been no like censorship or oversight on our work. We create what we want. I just released I watched every Scottie possession thing, and
those are always a hit, man.
Well, they don't go up at Sportsnet, right? Like a lot of places would be like, this is a lot, man. So we write what we want at RR. We do what we want. And
they're like, how about 10 bold predictions, Samson? Let's get 10 bold predictions, man. What about Jakob makes the All-Star team, number 9? Like
that's we haven't been asked to do that, which is great.
Yes, yeah. You don't have to reveal what your financial situation is, but does this improve on that end? People just want to know you're taken care of. That's the thing.
Yeah. I'm glad to be taken care of. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I am ambushing you with these questions.
What's you want my social insurance? Like, we can put it all out there and everything. Although that was like some of the comments.
What? Oh.
Yeah. Well, I think people. Anyway, we live in a transactional society, and sports culture or like GM culture has trickled down, the armchair GM. I think sometimes people who are, readers or listeners, they become invested in my salary the same way. Like, you're like, man, IQ, like he got paid.
Oh yeah.
On a much smaller scale. I think some people are like, well, I hope Samson gets paid, and some people might even be like, bit rich for me.
They're like, yo, come on, man. Unlikely bonuses in his contract affects his cap. No, I do hear you. That's actually one of the weirder parts. I guess it's not weird. It's just like, I guess when you're seeing the Raptors, and I guess if you're maybe seeing sort of like content on the Raptors through certain people as well, you start to blur the lines of like, are the people closer to us or like the Raptors? I mean, obviously we're closer to you guys. Like, that's not even close, but I see that. It's kind of cool to see that, but it is also kind of funny though. Like, I feel like players would probably love seeing this in some ways, of like speculation over like what happened here, or like the, just like, it's just probably like the free agency speculation or trade speculation. It's just like, you certainly know what's actually happening, and then you see the people speculate on on what's happening to you, and it is kind of fun in a sick way for me. Like, I actually did enjoy that. Like, when I was like, I'm leaving Sportsnet, they were like, oh my god, what's happening? Like, I knew what was happening and why I did it, and it was nothing against Sportsnet, certainly nothing against Blake, but like, like people being like, yo, there was this and this, and I was like, you know what? It's kind of fun to look at, people just theorizing.
Oleg, my roommate, my best friend, he would go on Reddit every once in a while. He'd be like, they're talking about you. And I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. I just assumed it would not be very good. So I've stayed away from that aspect of things, I suppose. But if you were like, oh, I know what's happening, I'd love to see him kind of figure it out. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Last question, probably the most important question, but are you happy? Because more importantly, I guess I know some of your backstory, but like, for people who might not know, like, you have always been a huge basketball fan. I think when you started doing this, like when I left RR in like 2019 in like March, and then you took over the Reaction Pod afterwards, it was like, I think were you in Mexico at that time?
Yeah.
You were like doing good things and building houses for people, and then you were like, you're like, what would be even cooler is if I sacrificed all this for a chance to make it covering Raptors content. And you've done that, and you've carved out like a really, really cool space. Like what I said earlier about like, if you don't work within the institution, you have to be very, very exceptional to make the institution eventually accept you. And this is like, a relatively smaller institution, that's not the biggest thing, but at the same time, it's so like, you have carved your own space. And so I think that's when people are like, not speculating over you. It's like they're invested in whether or not you're happy, because you've made people happy. So that's my final question on this subject.
Yeah. Gotta give everybody a hug, hey, we did it, obviously I've talked to everybody about it, and as the process, it's nice. More than anything, the reason why I wanted to do this, I wasn't building houses in Mexico, but I've done carpentry in Canada. Didn't have the tools in Mexico.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't have the full story, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cooler that you were building houses for people in Mexico.
Yeah, that would have been cooler for sure. I was in Mexico then when I started and took it over from you. I think, it's just what I wanted to do at that point in time was I just wanted to do it and see how it went. And I think that was very similar to you. You just wanted to do it and see how it went.
Yeah.
And to varying degrees, both of us have been very lucky that whatever we did, people responded well to. And that allowed for the platform to grow. That allowed for more opportunity to kind of indulge in what we wanted to do. And while we've carved out different niches, we've both carved out spaces that are very much our own. And that is literally just because of people supporting. So it's whatever it is, it's just thank you to people for supporting it. And especially there's no more paywall at Raptors Republic, but to people who supported that, like, that's very near and dear to me, because it isn't easy to get people to pay for stuff online.
No.
And the fact that people did, and a lot of people said they did it because they cared about the well-being of the writers, that's a special thing. Yeah.
For sure. No, I mean, that's the thing too. It's just like, I wouldn't say pour one out for RR, because it's literally just going to keep going. But I think
pour one in.
Pour one, sure. Yeah, pour one in. But honestly, like, next time I see Zarar, I'm going to buy him like 10 drinks, because that's usually how it goes with me and Zarar. But like, Zarar Siddiqui deserves such a huge credit for, I mean, he's basically been around since day one. Like, RR was like, it's the reason it's called Raptors Republic is because there was like in the I wouldn't say the dawn of time in like
2008.
probably 2000 and like roughly in that range. It was like a bunch of Raptors blogs, and like they're all kind of coming up. They're all writing like Bargnani sucks or Bargnani's awesome. Like, that was the big division at that time. And I think they just kind of got together. I know Sam Halako was a big part of this too. And they're just like, let's actually just put our resources together and like build this one independent space. And at that time, there was so little Raptor coverage, especially quality Raptor coverage. I feel like, I honestly, I was around for 2008, man.
You would have to find something like leaked out of the back end of Bleacher Report. Otherwise, you were not getting a Raptors article.
And you would have to click 65 slideshows to get to that. And it's just like Mo Pete, 89th best player in the NBA or something.
Oh, yeah.
But like, they have put in so much work into this, maintaining the site. To my knowledge, I don't think they've ever taken money out of the site to sort of like pay themselves beyond anything of a reasonable degree. I mean, but Zarar certainly makes lots of good money, and it's not from RR. But what he's done is actually paid like people like myself, people like you, people like Blake, people like Vivek, Oren, like Sahal. Like, there's been so many people who have like come through this space.
Eric Kareen wrote
there for a while. Yeah, that's right. There's an Alex Wong story on there somehow, even though he's a Raps HQ guy. Like, they found ways, and now like this generation with you and Lewis and NS, and you guys are big parts of sort of like this acquisition. Like, I mean, he's kind of just been this like weird, like, foul-mouthed angel that sits on your shoulder and like handles all the website shit, and once in a while writes like a really, really damn good column.
Yeah.
And I have the utmost respect for Zarar, and I think that after a long time of not being paid for this, I do feel like my hope is, and I haven't talked to him about the money part of this, I hope is that he got even a fraction of sort of how much he's worked to sort of make this space possible.
Yeah, just to reiterate what you said, the first time I ever met Zarar was at
one of the parties,
and then he, Lewis, and I were moved on to somewhere else as the three of us, and everybody's drunk and talking about Dostoevsky at like 4 a.m. in the morning.
Oh,
and of course, it's Zarar and Lewis, so we got there with it. But to reiterate your point, as far as I know, Zarar and the brass at Raptors Republic
Shouts
there
to
was
Nils as well, of course. I hadn't
Yeah.
said his name yet. Yeah.
there's not like profit motive there. They just
No.
wanted to have the site be the site. They understood what it meant to the community. They tried to organize based on that behalf, and
Mhm.
they put money into new writers that wouldn't have been put in otherwise. People like yourself, people like Blake,
Mhm.
people like myself, people like Lewis, people like S, people Eric Kareen will sign him. But like
Yeah,
they've
sure.
they've
Whatever. Yeah.
Vivek, whoever,
Mhm.
they've jump started so many people, and it's because they put money down for people that wouldn't
Mhm.
have been there otherwise, and where some very big corporations will not pay people for things. Raptors Republic was
Yeah.
doing so, and that's just because of the generosity of the brass. So
Yeah.
yeah, big thank you.
Yeah, there you go. And now that responsibility is with the Nation Network. You got to take care of the people that make these things possible, because it's not just dollars and cents of like, getting how many ads and everything like that, but it's about like it's supporting a very important Raptors space. I'll say that much. And yeah, okay, you're 3 stars from Raptors Nets. We haven't done that. I'm sorry, I totally forgot, man. 3 stars. Yeah, I'm just gonna go real quickly. Yeah, so Scottie, first star, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block. Great game for Scottie. Knocked down those 3 threes. It was great. Nice little dunk. Jakob, actually a couple nice dunks too, by the way. Jakob is your second star for me. 14 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. A really nice high-low pass to who was it? I don't know, maybe a couple. It doesn't really matter. Zerar's more important. 1 steal, 2 blocks. And then your third star, let's give it to Jamal Shead once again. I'm just head over heels with Jamal. 9 points, 4 assists. But when you take back-to-back moving screens, it just moves me, man. I'm sorry, I've been conditioned off a whole decade of Kyle Lowry. Like he even took a charge.
He did the point after he fell too. Like,
Yeah,
we're going that way. Yeah,
yep,
pretty good.
it's beautiful. Your Gerald Henderson Award winner, that's obviously got to go to Cam Johnson. 32 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. More importantly, he knocked down 7 threes. It was kind of nuts. Someone please save Cam Johnson. He doesn't deserve to play on the Nets, man. This is not fair to him. And then yeah, your most important guy, aka your defensive player of the game. I don't know, Samson. I'll leave that one to you, man. Who was the most important defender in this game?
Let's go with Jamal. Why not?
Okay, Jamal.
You know,
Dog, this is going to be the Jamal Shead Award going forward, man. We don't even need a MIG anymore. It's just Jamal.
he's
Yeah.
very impressive on that end. But we talked about it to death already.
There you go. All right, well, that does it for us. Samson, are you writing off this game, bro?
No, but I will say, for those people who haven't read or
Mhm.
don't like to read, they prefer video stuff like are watching right now. I'm in the middle of editing and repurposing that every Scottie pick and roll piece
Yes.
into a video essay. It will be out at 11 a.m. tomorrow, and we're doing my first mailbag tomorrow afternoon. I don't know yet.
I'm excited,
so
yeah.
It'll be a live thing where, yeah, I'll talk about basketball as I typically do. I might even get a little whiteboard to draw stuff on. We'll see how that goes.
Please do that. Please do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But that's
I'm
that's
looking
my
forward
end
to
of
it.
things.
And you're doing that once a week?
Yeah, once a week.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, listen, you got a lot of weekend plans. Once again, I cannot urge people enough to make sure you clear out time Sunday night at 8 p.m. to watch Game 5. I hope you do the same as someone who loves basketball. Like, that series has just been incredible. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. So this has been the Hello and Welcome podcast presented by Betway, and we will catch you after the home opener next week. All right, dude. That was great. Wonderful. Nice little